So here's the sample I used.
Please tell me what's wrong. Just what are you thinking? You look so forlorn.
And here's the final beat after I refined it in Ableton Live. So here's how it all happened. I'm gonna walk you through the whole process, and this isn't a proper sampling tutorial. I'm still learning the device, but I'm already making some decent stuff with it. I've already finished 2 beats, the one from my first impressions video and this one that we'll see in this video. So sampling and chopping in Ableton Move isn't bad. It's okay. It could be better, but it really depends on your attitude. Do you want to make it work? If you don't, then yeah, there really are some limitations that can be a bit annoying. But let's not forget that it's only supposed to be a sketchpad. So at some point you will hit some roadblocks, and you may be the kind of person that will put some time and energy and try to overcome them. But honestly, I'd rather not spend too much energy on that and rather just transfer the projects to live, which is super easy, and after all, that's one of the core features of Ableton Move. Start your sketch on it and easily transfer it to live to develop it. Which is exactly what I'm doing in this video. I'm gonna show you the things that I did in live that were just impractical or just too hard to do on Move. And since we're talking about sampling here, just to be clear, I'm not a typical sample-based producer. I really like to sample for the inspiration and ideas that it gives me, but I usually add a lot of instruments around the sample to completely change the context around it. So it takes a bit of planning to make the most out of Move. So here's how I organized the project. I loaded one of the stock drum kits and made sure to copy all the samples that I was going to use from the kit to the bottom 8 pads. The duplicate button is very handy and quick for this, and this way I could use the top 8 pads for my sample chops. Of course, I could have used another track with a drum rack for the chops. However, then I would only have 2 tracks for my synths and keys, so I keep all drums, percussion and samples on track 1, and then I have 3 tracks remaining for the keys. So chopping on Move can be done in 2 ways currently. Tapping the pads while recording the sample, or copying the sample to multiple pads and changing the starting point for each pad. Since I was recording the sample from my iPad, I chose the former, so while tapping the pads, it automatically copies the sample to each pad and sets the starting point to the exact moment in the sample when I tapped the pad. So essentially, it's a real-time lazy chop. Now, one really outstanding feature of Move compared to other similarly priced groove boxes is the independent pattern lengths. So if you have a 2-bar drum loop, like I do, in this case you don't need to think about that when recording something else on another track. You can, let's say, record a synth for 4 bars and the drums will loop 2 times, while that synth line completes its 4 bars. However, in this case, we're not recording our sample chops to another track, it's the same track as the drums. So if I want to record 4 bars of sample chops, I need to double the length of my drums to 4 bars, which is what I did. So there's no way to have independent track lengths in this situation unless you waste a track just for the sample chops. Now, usually when sampling songs like this, I like to remove the low end with a high pass filter so it doesn't interfere with the bass line. So another annoying limitation of Move is that you can't apply a filter to all sample chops at once. So I had to change the filter to high pass and set the cutoff frequency for each slice separately, which is a bit cumbersome, and I feel a way to apply this to all slices at once is really necessary. Hopefully they will add that with a firmware update at some point. So then I recorded a bass line and some chords with a polyphonic synth. And that's one thing I really like about Move as opposed to this fellow here, because the 404 is a pure sampler and you don't really have proper synths to add bass lines and chords and melodies. It is possible, but doing it on the Move with the drift synth with wavetable, much nicer, and plugging in a MIDI keyboard powered via USB, very convenient and much better than on this one. And for someone like me, this is crucial. Now, I usually sidechain such sustained sounds to my drums to free up some space for other sounds, but Move doesn't have a sidechain. So instead of complaining that it doesn't have this crucial feature for my sound, I approached it in a bit of a different way. I recorded some rhythmic low-pass filter sweeps for the synth, and that freed up a lot of space. And it sounded really cool actually. I wasn't really feeling the bass line, so I recorded another one. And so far so good, but the composition could really do with some refining that was a bit too hard for me to do on Move. I also used the drum rack 16 pitches with this melodic sample from the stock sounds on Move, again to maximize the available tracks, otherwise I would do that on a separate track. So I only had one track remaining, and I recorded this melody with this brass synth on the last track. And I also realized that the first chop was no longer needed, so I muted it and the whole thing simply sounded better. I also copied one of the sample chops to another pad, pitched it up an octave and added this part on top, which I thought was kind of cool, and this is probably one situation where the limitations of Move forced me to come up with some less traditional ways to create new parts. So I guess limitations lead to creativity? I don't know, sometimes, maybe? I think this statement is a bit cliché though, and a bit overrated, but sometimes it is true. But I still thought the sample could be rearranged in a way that would make the chops a bit more musical and interesting. And that's where I put Move to the side, transferred my sets to Live, and I felt like my hands were freed to do the necessary refinements and add some more synths and keys. So overall, I'm really positive about Move, but one thing about it that really sucks for me is the lack of sustain pedal support. But honestly, even if it worked with the sustain pedal, the built-in pianos, let's just say that they leave a lot to be desired. And it's not like Ableton don't have good pianos. I'm using the stock Rhodes from the electric pianos pack to add some depth to the track. So then I rearranged the chops into this. Then I also EQ'd the sample to make it sit better in the mix so that it's pretty much mostly the vocal being heard. And I also added some regular compression and also sidechain compression, with the sidechain source being the drum track. Man, after working on Move and its limitations, having so much control with the mouse on the computer screen actually feels great. You feel empowered. And I also added some additional melodic parts like this mallet thing and this synth lead. So Move kind of steers you towards making loopy stuff, you know, stuff that's like loop-based. It's just very rigid and loopy. I don't know what the correct word is here. So after I recorded my session view clips to the arrangement, I then recorded some variations to the bass line, and it really opened up the track and made it much more exciting, in my opinion at least. So here's the final track. Let me know what you think about it. So give the video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, check out my sample packs and my Ableton Live packs from the link down in the video description, a great way to support the channel and get some cool sounds. And I'll catch you later, bye bye!